Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Who is Better, the season 3 premiere of Who is Better. I am one of your hosts, Daniel, joined by
It's Berman.
And Chris.
today. The season premiere is going to be Kenny Omega, represented by Chris, versus Bryan Danielson, represented by me. Let's begin with the first category, the entrance and theme. So we have two entrance and themes each. Chris has Battle Cry and Devil Sky. I got Final Countdown and Flight of Valkyries. Chris, I'll let you go first.
All right, so both of these themes for Kenny Omega are absolute bangers from the top. It's not just a rip-off, unlike Bryan Danielson's two other themes. He didn't include it, but Fight of the Valkyries is the same thing like WWE and Final Countdown. It's not even that good, alright? That song's overrated, it's boring, it's bland, but however, due to Battle Cry, that's his damn Terminator theme in New Japan, as well as his current theme right now with the Devil Sky. It's so good, dude. Like all of his entrance themes just screams Omega. It doesn't matter where he's coming from. The crowd always gets hyped up. And yeah, you could say the same thing for Bryan Danielson, but they're not that good. They're just generic beats, if anything. I mean, for God's sake, it's literally like the U.S. anthem. Boring. Too patriotic. You know who did that better? Hulk Hogan. So my choice is Kenny Omega for the best team. Freak Bryan Danielson.
So you said rip off, but the thing is, the Flight of the Valkyries was the WWE one, not the AEW one. So that's where you got that.
They
And
basically the same thing.
well, it doesn't matter. Your point was that it was a rip off, and guess what? It's not.
It's
And second,
unoriginal.
no, I didn't interrupt you, so don't interrupt me.
Fine.
So basically, though, calling the Final Countdown a boring song is incredibly slanderous. And not only is it incredibly slanderous, I get that music is like subjective or anything, but are you being fucking serious?
It is the most cheesiest shit I've ever heard in my life. That
Well,
belongs in a fucking Nickelodeon kids movie. That's cringe. That's something the young bucks would use. And I'm saying that.
they're using another 80s song, so
But that one's
I guess
better.
by definition you're technically right.
Oh.
But yeah, I think the Final Countdown is an amazing song, and it's the best song of all four on this list. Let's be real. And Devil Sky, yes, it's a badass final boss sounding theme, but Battle Cry, it's okay. Like it's nothing that special. And Flight of the Valkyries and Final Countdown are special, entrance themes. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about that.
Uh, so for me, it's actually kind of easy for me. It kind of sucks to me, but I love the Kenny Omega's music so much more. To me, both of the Danny Bryan songs of Bryan Danielson, it is retro, and it just doesn't feel hype for me. It does sound good, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is the one that he does for AEW, the Greaters. I think it's a better song to me. So for me, Kenny Omega gets this one.
All right, Kane Zero, Bryan. All right, finisher. One Winged Angel versus Randy. Chris, you go first.
Is this even a competition? The running knee is literally just a ripoff of the V trigger. Let's be honest here. That's all it is. He's just a wannabe Kenny Omega, unlike the One Wing Angel, where it'll actually take out opponent after opponent. I mean, for God's sakes, the only person that managed to kick out as the finisher was his friend in New Japan. And besides the One Wing Angel, that's also a badass name. It's literally based off of one of the best fucking villains ever in like video game history with Sephiroth. Like, come on, Daniel. Is this even a competition? Is this
It
even
is
a
a competition.
competition?
And I'm going to explain why.
Why?
So, when you think about the One Winged Angel, yes, it is true that only one person has kicked out of it, and that's Kota Ibushi. And um, you know, it's a cool looking move, sure, but realistically, think about it. Is it really practical? Like the running knee, it's straight up, it looks brutal, and it works. And the One Winged Angel, again, cool looking move, but if you're like really thinking about it and logically thinking about it, the running knee is just a better move to have as a finisher. I am more convinced that that is more of a knockout move than the one-winged angel is, despite the kick-out history that both these moves have.
True enough, but to be fair, Daniel, you're forgetting the running knee is just a V trigger. That's all it is. That's all it ever be.
I wouldn't really say that because like the V trigger is more of like a bicycle knee, whereas the running knee in general is just Bryan jumping up and hitting him straight knee to the face. So they're both kind of different, but they are similar in a way. So I can kind of give you that, but at the same time, not really.
And I understand the running knee looks devastating, but the one wing angel is a proper finish to a proper superstar because the buildup happens, he does the poses, and then once he hits it, that's it. There's no
The
more getting
poses,
put.
like
The
JoJo,
poses.
isn't that what you used to insult AJ
I
Styles?
did,
That
and
new
I'll still
pose?
stand by it, but it doesn't apply because Kenny is from Japan. I mean, he's from Canada, but besides the point, he was in New Japan, so I'll allow it. It's
AJ was
fine.
another guy that won the IWGP heavyweight title as well. So what difference does that make?
Oh, the Kenny's cooler.
All right, Berman, just take it away.
Sorry, Daniel. I know you're trying to compare it. I do love that running knee, but to me, I love the one-winged angel so much more. So one-winged angel wins.
All right, Kenny 2, Bryan 0. Next category. Category 3, the move set. Now, don't get me wrong. Kenny Omega have some really cool ass moves, but whose moves are more synonymous? Bryan Danielson. Sure, you may have the argument that Bryan has more of a basic move set, but it's effective, it's hard hitting, and it works. And that's really all you need in that sort of thing. When you're thinking like classic wrestling as a whole, Kenny is very modern. And I'm not gonna really insult that too much because there's a lot of modern wrestling I love, but when you think about the kind of like crazy batshit over the top style that Kenny has, it's very catered to like the Dave Meltzer side of the wrestling scope. But then when you look at Bryan Danielson, you just think of quality technical wrestlers. There's like Kurt Angle, Zack Sabre Jr. Bryan Danielson fits in that conversation, of just those really great technical mat wrestlers. And, as great and phenomenal, as amazing the over the top style can be, the style that is truly respected, in my opinion, is that technical style. And that's just my personal opinion on that. So I gotta say, for the overall move set, they are both have great move sets, but I'm gonna give it to Bryan Danielson just by looking more effective. And if you ask me, would I rather get hit with some moves by Kenny or by Bryan? I'd rather get hit with some moves by Kenny because they look less effective than Bryan's. That's all I have to say.
Which isn't true, because Bryan is more technical, but Kenny Omega is more flashy when it pitches to his character. And also, too, he also, besides the move sets and the somersaults, he also has his dragon rushes, his snapback dragon suplex. You can't tell me for a doubt that wouldn't hurt any person. Like, that thing is completely brutal. If anything, it could be like a finisher move for like other dudes, too. And what I like about Kenny, he puts a little facade in his moves. Like, for example, he has his Terminator thing where it's basically like a suicide dive, but he poses. And again, he has his V triggers, which he uses quite often. And there's just so many moves that he can rely on for back to back that fits his overall personality. Yeah, he's not more technical as in Bryan Danielson, but that's not the type of wrestler. And if anything, both of these move styles are great. And if we're being real, technical move set is only good on certain opponents because if you have maybe like one bad move set against another guy, it's just not going to appeal to much people and it's going to be boring. Unlike Kenny, which I'm guaranteed to get a good match no matter who it is. So I'm going to give overall move set to Kenny Omega.
But Bryan can literally have a good match with a mop. Like he can have good matches with literally anybody on the planet. And that's just the way it is as well.
You can have
I'm
good.
not saying I'm not saying Kenny doesn't have that quality either, but you can't really deny Bryan of having that quality.
I'm not going to deny Bryan, but Kenny's going to always get the edge. It's just more of his reflection, his most personality, and not more to the be more boots on the ground kind of guy. Because he's not that type of dude, and it's more entertaining, in my opinion, than just watching technical wrestling.
Let me ask you this though: when you think about both Kenny and Bryan in AEW, and you think about the overall match quality, if you realistically break it down, Bryan has probably had the overall better catalog of matches compared to Kenny in the company.
I wouldn't say that. There were some stinkers he's had that were real bad.
And Kenny hasn't had his stinkers.
He hasn't had his stinkers, but he has had more successes and more memorable matches that we still talk to this day about, son. To this day.
And Bryan got those classics too, but you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let Berman take it away.
Yeah, this is actually probably the hardest decision for me because I love both guys' movesets, and I love more to Daniel Bryan's because of how I love technical styles. I always love anyone who uses submissions, but I do love Kenny with all the strikes. But it's so hard to pick between both of them. But I'm gonna pick what I like and what I always love to watch, and I'm gonna go technical. So Bryan Danielson.
Okay, Kenny 2, Bryan 1. Next category. Number 4, who has the best mic skill out of the 2? Kenny's good on the mic. He is very good on the mic. I'm not going to try to trash him at all on it. But Bryan knows how to kind of tap into that sort of element that people can relate to him on, whether it was in 2014 or, you know, in 2019 as a heel. He has the ability of tapping into people's emotions through the mic. And the best example of this, and this is something Kenny is never going to have the ability to do on the mic. Remember when he won the Gold Rush tournament last year? And this was the Dynamite after Hangman won the gold. It was in Hangman's hometown. He was celebrating with the title. Bryan was a face, and he won the tournament. And in 30 seconds, literally just 30 seconds, he mentioned how, he's disappointed that, the person he's fighting for the title isn't Kenny because, he doesn't believe in Hangman, in being as good of an opponent. And, then he insulted the audience and a bunch of other things. But literally in the span of 30 seconds, he went from being a face to a heel. And all he did was just say a few sentences. And that shows how effective every word Bryan says in the mic is to people. And Kenny, you just can't say that same thing about him. You'd be lying if you were trying to say that same thing about him. So overall, I'm going to have to give this point to Bryan Danielson. There are too many segments, too many times where Bryan goes, real on the mic, and it's amazing. Kenny just doesn't really have that same, level of passion on the mic that Bryan does, in my personal opinion.
I'm going to agree to disagree, sir. Bryan may be good at taking mic skills, but that's only based upon his heel tactics, and even that Kenny does it better. But we'll get into that category. You can't tell me for a fact his most recent stuff as him portraying himself as a face for William Regal wasn't cringe whatsoever, and it was just bad acting overall. Unlike Kenny, who could play a face and a heel, he can, no matter what the situation, you can love him, you can hate him. The guy is always on point on the mic, no matter where he's at.
All right.
You can't deny that, Daniel.
No.
Yes.
No. Yes, I can.
Yes, you
The
can.
only story he has told in the entirety of the 3 years or so that AEW's been around is the one with Hangman Adam Page. So I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of, being able to carry himself well through, as a face or a heel when he can't even carry someone through, a feud. People only get invested in his matches because they see how he is in the ring, not because of what he has to say on the microphone.
You are
And
capping.
that's the difference between a performance artist and a true professional wrestler in Bryan Danielson.
Have you not seen any of his? You introduced me him through New Japan. All his mic skills, the moments he's talking shit as his heel and as a face in New Japan. You're telling me you're going to discredit all of that, including AEW? And he's not bad at the mic. You're capping.
Hey, you know what?
You are insane. You're crazy.
No, I'm being serious.
You're fucking trolling right now.
No, I'm not trolling. I actually really gotta say, Kenny's good on the mic, really good on the mic, but you're comparing him to Bryan Danielson, and Bryan is just better. He just knows how to pull emotions out of you. And I'm sorry, Kenny hasn't really done that besides the Adam Page feud and maybe a few other instances, but that's really it. He doesn't really bring the emotions out of people that often, or at least he doesn't really try to. That's just not who he is. And maybe calling him a performance artist just now is a bit harsh, but compared to Bryan Danielson and just how much of a great wrestler Bryan Danielson is, it just feels like that when you're comparing him to Bryan Danielson. And that's just how I see it.
It's just not you're capping, dude. The only thing Bryan Danielson does, he's just a face. He's just a wannabe John Moxley. You couldn't even beat him. He's gonna be
Nah,
number 2. He's gonna lose to FGF. He ain't nothing. He's always gonna be a mid Carter no matter where he goes.
Mid Carter, yeah, I believe Bryan has won more world titles than Kenny. Kenny has only won 2 world titles in his entire career,
Bro,
whereas Bryan has
bro.
won
The
far more than 2.
WWE is canon, dude. That's under Vince. It's not canon anymore.
No, don't pull that shit.
Not canon. Berman, take it away.
Yeah, Berman, take it away.
Oh man, this is hard because I know I watched both of them. Their mic skills were great, but I think the main thing that counts is that the believability of the mic and how good their promos are always. And you see just last night on Dynamite how good Bryan was. So I'm gonna take Bryan for me.
All right, Kenny 2, Bryan 2. 5th category, who's the better face? Now, Kenny's a good face. I can't really deny that. But when he's a face, he kind of acts like a dick still from time to time. And, that can definitely still be proven, whether it was him in Chicago the other week. And sure, you can say, no, that was him playing up to the crowd and pretending to be a heel. And sure, maybe you can argue that it was, but it's still during his face run. You get where I'm coming from. And, he kind of still does, things. If you go back and watch, his face run in 2018, 2019, 2020, there are still those few moments where the heel Kenny deep down shines through. The face Kenny feels more like a facade than anything else. At least Bryan as a face feels more authentic and true to himself. So I have to give the point to Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, but Kenny's a good face too. He's a lovable idiot, just like the Young Bucks. And let's be real here, Bryan is a terrible face. He's cheesy. He's corny. Bro, he's cornier than John Cena. Let's be real here, Daniel.
That's so full of crap.
Corny.
No.
It's like, oh, you don't hit me. Don't hit him. He's my father. He's like a father to me. Don't do this. Bro, his recent shit.
With William Regal?
Dude, that's all I think about. I just think he's a whitey little bitch now. He lost all credibility.
I don't know if you know this, but Bryan explained exactly why, he's connected to William Regal and why, Regal gained that kind of concussion or being rushed to the hospital really hit him in some kind of way deep down. And most people are enjoying the feud. You're just in the minority.
I'm not in the minority. I'm just speaking what the people have to say. And besides, Bryan is a better heel anyways, but he's not as good as Kenny. Me and Twitter. We run this shit.
Yeah, King Imbecile leading the army of imbeciles talking about fucking that shit.
Berman, this man really thinks that Bryan's a good face. That is a joke. That is such a joke.
No. Literally WrestleMania 30 main event. You're spitting all over that if you really think he's a bad face.
He's okay. He's all right.
And think about how inspirational his WrestleMania 34 return was after we all thought his career was over in 2016. And that really, inspired people. Hell, it inspired Saraya to actually return to wrestling.
She should have just stayed retired because that shit was mid as fuck.
I could continue, but I'm pretty confident in my point. So, if you have anything left to say, go for it.
Bryan's a vegan. That's all I gotta say. I win.
Take it away.
All right, it is hard, but because I know another thing, it's pretty goes right to the mic skills again. That the believability of a face and how good someone is portraying a face role is the best thing. And Bryan does that so much more and so much better than Kenny. Don't get me wrong, Kenny is a good face, but he feels more like a lovable idiot that doesn't look like a face for anyone else to me. So for me, it's Bryan.
All right, Kenny 2, Bryan 3.
I'm so V-triggered right now, dude. I'm so V-triggered right
now. All right, category number 6. Who's the better heel? Now, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. Bryan, you know, he was a heel in 2012, where he was in Team Hell No, and then he's also the Planet Champion, in 2018, 2019. He also was heel for a few months in AEW with Hangman Adam Page and Jon Moxley feuds, and those were pretty entertaining. So Bryan knows how to be a solid heel. And for anyone who says he doesn't know how to, literally go rewatch the Adam Page feud that happened not even a year ago, because it was really good. And the feud was mainly fueled by Bryan as a heel on the mic, and he was doing a really good job. And think about it, Kofi Mania, becoming the very thing he hates. That whole story was just really good. And Bryan basically being a giant hypocrite, being an asshole. That kind of stuff made sense. And yeah, I like Kenny, but if you logically think about reasons to dislike a person as a heel, there's more things Bryan did that you can say he's dislikable for. Like, for example, berating AJ Lee and blaming her for when he lost in 18 seconds when that was his own fault. And another situation is, just seeing how, whiny and crybaby as she is, kind of like Christian was back in the Ruthless Aggression era. It was just, very funny, but it also gets you to dislike him because, God, this guy's so annoying. I just want to see him get his ass kicked and, that sort of thing. People still like Kenny as a heel. In most arenas, he's still going to get cheered, and that's just the way it is. He's not very believable as a heel. It's like how Berman said when Bryan's more believable on the mic, and he's more believable as a face. I think that can also apply to him as a heel too.
That's good. Those are good points. But I'd like to remind that Kenny may have not won the face category, but for the heel, he is literally the perfection of villainous in wrestling. I mean, for God's sakes, him and his teamwork of Don Callis's and his whole crew of boys, that's literally Kenny Omega. He's been carrying AEW since the beginning of his heel character. It's so good. Like, literally, anything you can say about this guy, he's just a goofball. He's a menace to society. He's just somebody you just love to hate. And there's so many guys he's pretty much buried throughout the years, such as Adam and then others too throughout AEW's runtime. And I just have to give it to Kenny just for the overall. It's more entertaining. And honestly, am I gonna really believe Bryan Danielson? I'm an echo terrorist. Wah! I want to change the belt because of my beliefs. That's not a heel. That's a hippie, Daniel. And you know damn well hippies aren't heels. They're boring. And I hate hippies. Freak you.
You know what? I'm not even going to take that seriously. Berman, take it away.
This is going to be hard, bringing up a lot of good points about them, but the thing that I don't believe too is Kenny. Like, every time I watched him, I didn't like. He's not that bad. To me, he was actually fun to watch. Not the Young Bucks was the different situation. They felt like more like heels than anything else. They probably had, to me, Young Bucks are a better heel than Kenny Omega himself, which is funny to say. So I feel like Bryan Danielson has a better heel that he makes everyone believe and everyone hate how messed up he is. Like he was torturing the Dark Order and stuff like that. So I think Bryan takes that.
All right. Kenny 2, Bryan 4. So, even though Bryan has already secured the win and is
No.
officially the better
No.
wrestler of all time than Kenny Omega, we'll go to the final match just for fun.
Okay.
Or the final category, I mean, which will be who has the best match. Now, let's go on to the final category. My match is going to be Bryan Danielson versus Adam Page for the AEW Championship. And it was the TBS debut and the first episode of Dynamite this year. And I just got to say, man, when you're thinking of a technical masterpiece, it's this match. And when I talked about Bryan being such a great heel, and this is a perfect example out of it, really making Adam, look like an underdog face, having to overcome the wrestling veteran who's been a multi-time world champion. And, he really helped put over Adam Page to that next level and prove himself. And not many people were able to do that at the time. So, I just think the match is perfect. And it's just great. It's just is. I can't really say too much about it. It I'd sound like a broken record if I did go off here. So if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. But I think it's just one of the best wrestling matches I have seen in a very long time. And Bryan just proves himself to be a great through matches like this, having multiple different submissions and tactics and strategies to try to take out his opponent. And that's shown through this match as well. So this is my choice. Now, Chris, get along with your choice, and then Berman will decide who has the better best match.
Bet. I may have lost the battle, but I'm not losing this goddamn war. Okay, for Kenny Omega, I put
You
Kenny.
have lost.
You shut the hell up. You guys are biased. You all hate us. I'm just kidding. But for my
I hate it.
for my match, it's gonna be Kenny Omega versus Naito in the G1 Climax. And just for the record, unlike Daniel's choice, Bryan Danielson only performs good maybe towards like the middle of the match because for the first 5 to 10 minutes, he's just taunting and doing jumping jacks left and right and just like I might fight you. I'm playing heel.
Because
Unlike
the story is that he underestimates his rookie opponent compared to him.
bro,
So
this is like the second time he's done this. The first match was even worse of him just taunting over. But unlike Kenny versus Naito,
think about it. He
what?
wasn't even taking the first match that seriously, and he drawed. So Bryan had a reason to continue to underestimate him going into the second match.
It's just
But
called
anyway,
being lazy, man. It's just being lazy.
all right, continue.
It's being lazy because unlike my match, it's a banger from the start. It's 45 minutes of nonstop action. I mean, hell, you have the insane dives of Kenny taking the dive through a barricade through a chair. You have the mid-air V-trigger. And Naito and Kenny just shine so goddamn much. There's no taunting necessarily. I never slept on a single second of this match. And this is 50 minutes. And not only that, it ends on a great speech of Kenny Omega makes to his New Japan rivals, warning everyone that change is coming and Kenny's coming for the next year's title. Unlike Bryan versus Adam, it's just like, I'm taunting because I'm underestimating you. That's boring, and you're wasting everyone's time because you literally did that in the other match. And that's all I have to say. And if you think that's better, then maybe you're wrong with wrestling. Thank you.
Any rebuttal at all?
No, I'll let you decide.
For me, it is kind of true. I feel like Chris is on his point that it is kind of a weird match with Bryan, where like it's just taunting too much. Like I know we've seen so many people taunt MJF is the best one right there, but I think Kenny and Naito just makes it the best match for them. So I gotta give it to Kenny.
I win.
All right. Kenny 3, Bryan 4. Bryan's still the winner.
I win.
But
I win the
Kenny
war.
No, you do not. You just won 3 out of 7 categories. I won 4 out of 7.
Oh.
Well, they're both great wrestlers, though. Don't take any offense to this, y'all. So, thank you all so much for watching. I've been Daniel.
I've been Chris.
Berman.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy.